All right. Are you there?
Hey,
What's going on?
we kind of match. Like kind of
Hey, we do kind of match.
like the sun thing going on here.
Yeah,
You know?
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's good. What kind of energy is this? I wouldn't want to classify it as Buddhist energy, like.
Yeah. I think it's like an earth energy.
Okay.
Maybe.
So what's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook? Wherever y'all are watching this at. We're back at it again today with a podcast. We have a very special guest in the house. Her name is gabRi. Now, gabRi, we did this once already, and technical difficulties really got in the way the first time, and I'm super sorry for that.
Don't be sorry. All good.
So I appreciate you coming back with us and being a part of it. I'm going to make sure we're on full screen. I'm not going to make any mistakes this time. Yep. Oh, yeah. You hear that ugly delay? All right. So for those of you who don't know who gabRi is, and if you're my viewers, you probably should have no idea who she is. I know her through a mutual friend, Chelsea. So shout out Chelsea. Do you have delay on your end now?
No.
Don't be messing with me, gabRi.
I know it.
I mean, I've known of you and known about you, and I feel like we followed each other on Instagram and stuff for like quite a while. This is probably the most we've ever talked to each other, though, so that's interesting.
I know.
And I was absolutely fascinated when I stumbled upon your Twitter and saw that you have an awesome song release called Staying Sober. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. So, but before we get into all that, I'd rather talk about what matters a little bit more, which is you. I guess the first thing I'm curious about and want to hear more about is like where did music start with you? Was it an instrument? Was it choir? Where did that start with you?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, my family like always like had music playing on the background. Like music was such a staple point of like my upbringing, and Backstreet Boys is what really stuck to me. So I used to like put on performances for my family in the living room, and when I was like 2 years old, not even. So music started at a really young age for me, to kind of just like progress through my life.
So this is a new detail for me. So it was Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, I didn't tell you this. Yeah, specifically it was Backstreet Boys. Like very specifically, it was like Backstreet Boys songs that I would perform for my family in the living room.
What's the Backstreet Boys song? If you had, now I'm not gonna make you perform it now, but if you had to perform one now, what would it be?
If I had to perform a Backstreet Boys song, wow, I never been asked that. Probably "Shape of My Heart." I know,
okay.
Plot twist.
Not the one that we were expecting.
No.
I was expecting some "I Want It That Way" or "Larger Than Life."
The basics, you know.
Yeah.
That means I'm a true fan. Yeah, okay. No, but I did choir in high school, and like I led the high school youth band at my church in McKinney. And
what church did you go to?
Just St. Gabriel's in McKinney. Shout out St. Gabe's, all my St. Gabe's.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, just over the course of my life, like music always stuck, no matter what it was, which is why I kind of chose it to be my path.
Do you feel like music is like a passion, like an outlet for you?
For sure. I think that without it, I'd be like a complete, if I didn't choose this path, like I don't even know what I would be doing. I don't feel like I'm like that great at other things. So yeah, I don't know. Music is definitely an outlet for me for sure. I am not great at portraying my feelings, but I always find a way to be able to do that through a song or, through a rhyme that I make. So
why is that? Why is it through music you're able to be more vulnerable?
I think it's because people, when you listen to a song, you never really know if it's their experience that are happening, if that makes sense. So like you listen, for example, to Staying Sober, and I could have just written that, out of the blue, like for a random like reason. But in that song's case, it was actual personal experience. But I think that it's just, if you are releasing music and people are hearing that music, I don't think that you're alone in those feelings. Does that make sense? So like you can feel a certain type of way, but when people listen to that song or listen to what you wrote, a lot of people actually feel the same way.
I think people hear it differently when it's music. Like, for example, I was running a little test on my Snapchat the other day, because sometimes I rant on Snapchat and just for fun, or like sometimes I am mad about something, and I just feel like expressing myself to the world or whatever. And the other day I was like, let me freestyle rap about what I'm thinking and feeling about and see how that goes. Because usually, I mean, people will watch the rants, but sometimes I piss people off, and it's just not always the most positive thing. So
yeah.
But the responses I got from the freestyles were, I mean, I was like, wow, this actually, as artists, we can't be worried about being judged. I mean, that's literally what we are all day. Is people are judging us for how good we are at what we do, right? So we can't be too worried about that. But it's nice to know that whenever we are expressing ourselves, that it's being received in a healthy way. Exactly. And I think when you're just talking, it's harder to do.
Yeah. And I think like if you're adding like melodies, you're adding music behind it. I think music makes everyone feel like a very specific type of way, depending on the music and like them, like in their like personally. So I think that it actually just helps to like push those feelings up and like actually make you feel them more. Like it's, for example, like the ASPCA stuff, you're sad when you see a dog that's not doing well, but it makes it even worse when they put that in the arms of, in the background.
So yeah, Sarah McLachlan's back there killing it,
And that when that song comes out, I'm like, damn, y'all really had to just jab me right in the heart.
I know. Yeah. No, they know what they're doing, right?
Right. For sure.
And Sarah, Sarah, more power to you. I hope they paid you a lot of money for that.
I know. I hope she's still getting royalties.
Yeah, for real. Off every adoption, she needs to make like 5 cents.
At least.
Okay, so you went to Boyd High School. No, North. I made this mistake last time. You went to North.
McKinney North, baby. Go Bulldogs.
Why did I think you went to Boyd? Did Chelsea go to Boyd?
She
didn't go to high. So. Chelsea, please leave in the comments where you went to high school so we can figure this out. Watch her go to McKinney High, and I just didn't know.
I think she went to high.
Dude, if she went to high, all right. Anyway. Chelsea, if you went to McKinney High, I'm so sorry. So McKinney North. So tell me about your McKinney North experience, and what is it for you about high school that you carry with today?
Wow. To be honest with you, I had a very specific group of friends in high school. Shout out to Sydney and Shelby and Sarah, right? I mean, like we literally, Sydney, for example, we've been friends since like 4th grade, and she's still my friend. She actually lives in Santa Monica, like 20 minutes from me now, which is funny. But like, I think friendships that I made in high school, even to people that I didn't actually like hang out with all the time, like the people that I went to high school with, I still see when I go home, and I still talk to them like frequently. So I would say the people, when it comes to experiences, I like still get nostalgia when I see football games, like high school football games, because how big they were where we're from, right? So I think just like nostalgia around like football games, and I don't know, my choir director that I had in high school really pushed me to like stay with music and just like do the thing. Like I wasn't even gonna audition for Berkeley, and he was like, dude, like just do it. What do you have to lose? And then I mean, for some reason I got in, right? But,
for some reason you don't sing like a canary or anything.
Right. No, but I don't know. He just really always was pushing me to continue to grow and continue to be better, and like giving me solos and having me perform just to like make me better, which I miss that a lot. And I, to this day, appreciate it. Like if by any chance I ever get a Grammy, he will be like shouted out at my Grammy speech. You know what I mean? Type stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it's a he, right?
Yeah. Mr. Nelms.
Mr. Nelms.
Mr. Nelms. Such a musical name.
That. Right? I've heard that name. Yeah. No, I've heard that name. Hang on. I think I've worked with him at some point.
It's possible.
Anyway, yeah. Shout out Mr. Nelms. Shout out Mr. Nelms. And choir directors, as we all know, are some of the most aggressive people in the world.
Yeah.
Shout out Miss Johnston.
You know what? I know Miss Johnston.
Miss J, bro. Miss J, yeah.
I'm dead. Yeah, no, it's just funny though. Like
they're the most passionate people, man.
It's at the time when you're in high school, you're like, why are they being like that? Like they're conducting at me so hard right now, Or like the soul.
Dude, I can still see Miss J. It's just
good, and you're like, well, relax, right? Yeah. But it's just funny now looking back on it. Like I appreciate that so much now.
Oh yeah. Well, and what they understood that we didn't at the time is music is emotion. I mean, that's That's
Right.
what it is, you know. And and part of you getting a good score at UIL competition was, did you move the judges? Yeah, you could have sounded
Right.
great, but did you create emotion? Did you have dynamic and that kind of thing? And I mean, surely you can relate to this. Like, that carries over into pop music. That
Oh,
carries over into
100%.
mainstream music. Like, all of those very classical techniques that we learned in choir. I mean, you're
Right.
kind of just bumping up the metronome a little bit and really
Exactly.
doing the same thing
Right.
and playing the chords more repetitively.
Yeah. It's back to back to back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about staying sober. So, because being sober is not something that most people are down with nowadays.
Yeah.
They don't like it, or they just enjoy not being sober, right?
Yep.
So why is that different for you?
So here's what I'll tell you. I am by far not sober. So I'll start with that. But
Okay.
it's always makes me giggle when people are like, "What's your song called?" Like, I'll look it up. I'm like, staying sober. They're like, "Oh,
They're
you're
like,
sober."
we're
And I'm
like,
like,
we're at the
"Oh."
bar right now.
Yeah, you're like, wait, yeah, I literally have a drink in my hand. And they're like, I'm like, and I'm like, they're like, whoa, like, you're not supposed to be drinking now. But I think the song itself, when I think I wanted to make it more of like a nostalgia thing, right? Like, when I smell this alcohol, when I taste this alcohol, like, it brings me back to a memory I had with that person. So I'm like, I'm better off just not drinking at all, because usually people would drink to drown out something they're trying to forget, drown out a feeling, a memory, whatever it is in between. Um, but for me, like, drinking, instead of helping me forget those
It brings
things,
back.
it just brought me right back to those things, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's kind of the preface of the song. So I say staying sober, everyone's like, I'm like, no, just like just listen to it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
Um,
friends, is called self-control. Well, and for me, I don't know if you meant to do this, but for me, when I heard it, I heard a like more meanings than just that, because I definitely heard that. I mean, it's hard not to hear that part.
right.
But for me, it was almost like staying sober from that person,
Ah,
right? Like, they're the whiskey, they're the vodka, they're the whatever. I'm better off staying
yeah.
sober from your ass or whatever, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's really sick, actually. I mean, I love hearing my manager actually, like, when I first wrote it, came to me and was like, it's almost like you're like goodbye to like being in college and being in Boston. And I was like, wow, like, it's so funny that the different people like portray things that you say. And I think it's so sick. I love it.
Mhm.
That's like
Well,
the
and when you write a good song, interpretation is everything. Like, it's very ambiguous, and some of my favorite artists write things in a way that they don't want you to know what they're saying. They want you to
right.
guess at it. And that's part of the fun, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's like always just so weird when people are like, I think it's so cool. I don't know. Like, just writing music and hearing people's feedback on it, it's just, I've cried a few times
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I've definitely cried about it. Just hearing people like say like, hey, like, I know I don't know you, but this so and so posted your song and I heard it, and it really, I'm going through a really hard time, and it's really helped me push through that time. Or, I lost somebody to addiction, and like, this song really like helps me like bring that person back, and like makes me feel at peace with what happened. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, that's bizarre to me. That's crazy to me.
Mhm.
But it's so cool to know that I'm making an impact on people
Mhm.
through that. I never
Mhm.
thought that would happen. So
Yeah. Well, you know what? I
yeah,
think it's artists, like, sometimes I think about, what do artists actually do for society? We entertain people. Is that
yeah,
productive to society? Like, I just think about these things, right?
right,
And but when you take stories like that, what artists do for society is we help people articulate their thoughts.
hmm,
We help people understand themselves better, because as artists, we understand ourselves more than most people do. And it's
right,
not about being braggadocious about that. It's just usually it's true.
right,
Um, and that since we're able to look deep into our souls and express that in an emotional song, people who are maybe not able to do that are able to find healing in that, right?
Right. Yeah. That's a good way to put it,
I think
actually.
I think that's super powerful. Like, I mean, do you know who NF is, the rapper? Do you like rap at all?
I do. I do listen to rap music, not as much as I listen to other types of music, but I listen to the typical like Drake. Like
You're a big Taylor Swift fan, though.
I do like Taylor Swift. Do I like her actually? Like as a person, she's been on my patience lately with everything going on with her. But do I love her music? I love her songwriting. I think she has amazing, amazing writing. It's crazy. Even from the like first Taylor Swift album, from the very beginning of time with her writing is like impeccable. And she was writing songs about like 14.
She's evolved well too. Like even her newer songs fit the times well, and they weren't too much. Like she didn't get out of her box too much. She still stayed pretty true to herself as far as her music goes. And a compliment that I want to give you again, since you freaked out about it so much last time, is you do sound like Taylor Swift. You do sound like her if she had more stylism to her voice. And in my opinion, if she was a little bit better, you'd sound just like her.
Wow. Honestly, you said it impacted me more the second time you just said it. I think that is such a compliment because I've been listening to her since I was a small child. So that means a lot. Thank you so much. Wow.
Absolutely. Well, so, and like I said, when I heard Staying Sober for the first time, I was trying to, not that I like to group artists, I like to think that every artist is their own genre in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I definitely like to keep and let people have their individuality whenever I'm judging. What's the word there? Yeah. Whatever the word is, observing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, I was like, who does this remind me of? And I didn't want to say Taylor Swift. I don't know why. But I think it was because I was like, but this is better than Taylor Swift. So anyway, that's where that emotion came from. I want to talk about. Amazing. Oh yeah. I want to talk about the song more. So because I'm a producer, so I make beats and instrumentals and much more than just hip hop beats. Right. I could probably produce the music to a movie if I really wanted to. So where did the music behind your song come from?
So I actually wrote the song for a songwriting class, and I just actually had a guitar, just like chords on a guitar that I wrote with. And then I brought it to my friend Steven Martinez, shout out Steven, in Nashville. He's actually an amazing country producer. Like he does really well with like singer-songwriter country stuff. And I brought it to him. Fun fact, I actually ended up getting really sick when I landed. Like I had like a fever, like 100 something, at strep throat. And so Staying Sober was recorded with Gab having strep throat. So there's that fun fact.
No way.
Yeah, it was really bad.
My God, I've had strep. You cannot sing having strep.
I'm not going to lie to you. I have no clue how I did it. I don't know. Maybe it's because Steven's so good at what he does, right? But I went out to him, and I actually just had the guitar part, and I was like, kind of like gave him a little bit of creative like freedom to just build it together. So I sat with him in the studio for like 2 days, and he was like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Right. What I loved about the production style that we used on that was it's very vocal driven. So you hear my vocals above everything else, they're very warm. Because I think the story was the most important part to me in that song. And the production I wanted the production to just lift it instead of overpowering it, and instead of being on the same level as the melody and the lyrics. So yeah, he did it perfectly. I mean, I got the first mix and I was like, come on, dude. I was like, hell yeah, this is exactly what this is like. When I thought about the song and what I wanted it to be like, I didn't actually have a set in stone, like, I didn't have like any reference tracks. I didn't be like, I want it just like this, right? But when I heard it for the first time, I like cried and I was like, whoa, like I didn't think it could be something like this. So yeah, I mean, he played a majority of the instrumentation on it, here and there, back and forth on it. But yeah.
So what's impressive about all of that is this was, I mean, now for me, it's not surprising knowing you've had a songwriting class at Berkeley, nonetheless, lucky you,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you deserved going there. But that on top of, and I'm sure you'll talk about it here in a second, working with the people at Berkeley and having a lot of prep work done before ever writing your first. I mean, this is like your first song that you've really ever truly written and made,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, like for me, I started songwriting and had no idea how to write a song. I just started throwing shit up on the wall and see what would stick, right? And then I had to start studying how Eminem puts rhymes together. And then I had to start studying, okay, how are we building these songs? What's the structure?
Right.
What is a bridge? What is a chorus? Like, what are those things, right? So for me, it's a big deal when literally this is your first song ever. And it's this good. That's cool.
Thank you.
That's cool. It's not garbage. Like, and it would be okay if it was, but it's not, so that's cool. What about, I want to hear more about because Berkeley was where you first stepped into a studio, and got to hear yourself recording. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, as like an actual artist. Yes. So I would play on, my friends would have they're my producer friends that studied production at Berkeley would need be like, hey, I have this project due. I need a vocalist. Can you come in and just for a few hours and just record some vocals? Hell yeah, let's do it. So that was kind of my first experience, and the studios there are ridiculous. They're amazing. So that was cool for that to be my first time in a studio like that. But Berkeley really shaped me into you're working with people in all forms of the industry at Berkeley, songwriters, producers, engineers, composers, everything
even
in between.
The business side of things too, right?
Yeah, I actually studied business. Fun fact. But yeah,
that'll be good for you.
Hopefully, if I can remember anything I learned in college, right? No, but yeah, it's really cool because you're learning from these leading professionals in the industry, but then you're also classmates with the people that are going to be the next leading people in the industry, which is so cool. But it's really hard though. I mean, I told you this last time, but you go from being a big fish in a little pond when it comes to music, right? I would play everywhere in downtown McKinney and my church, everyone knew I was always singing at church. So you go from being the musician in your town or one of the musicians in your town that a lot of people know about to no one, to being in a place where everyone was that musician in their hometown, right?
And they've been there a while already, probably. A lot of them were, right?
Yeah, so you get a little slap in the face, and you're you kind of realize, you think that you're so great, and you probably are really great, but you realize how many other people are also great. So you sit there and you're like, oh shit, I'm going in this industry with these people that sound like this and that can play the guitar like this or do X, Y, and Z like this. Who the hell am I to try to do it, right? But what's really sick about it is everyone's on the same team. We all want to see each other do great, So that was the cool part about it. But it's definitely was a really big eye opener for me when I got there, for sure.
Yeah, and that's good to hear. And that's what I notice about musicians, especially musicians that are our age, is for the most part, we're not really concerned with getting ahead of each other. And in fact, we're kind of like, yo, if I can be a part of what you're doing, please let me know. And I'm going to tell you the same thing, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think too, it's I mean, I told you listen, all my friends are musicians, almost all of them out here.
Right.
So it's cool to be I created merch for my friends. I've sang backup on their stuff. They're always helping me perfect the writing that I've done. We're all on the same team. So it's if they go up, if they make it, I know I'm right behind them. Maybe not on my own project, but helping them do their own stuff, right? And that's the coolest part about the industry. Coolest part about having friends that are musicians. It's if I'm going, you're coming with me,
Right. But that's the hard part, is making those connections.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go to Berkeley for that.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just jealous. That's all it is. I want to go to Berkeley. Okay, so but the artwork for your song for Staying Sober was done by one of your friends, right?
It was done by one of my friends. Her name is Molly. I actually worked with her at, well, I'm just going to say it. I worked with her at Apple. And she's an amazing visual artist. And so she was like, hey, like, can I try like a jab at the artwork for your song? And I was like, yeah, you can, right? So what was really sick about it is she literally listened to the song and drew. I didn't give her any like anything for it. She just drew what she heard and drew what she felt through the song. And when she sent that to me, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like it was like, what? I think what it was, even with like the production in this, like when I saw that visual, I was like, that's it. That's perfect.
Mhm.
You're growing inside of yourself, but like trying to forget what's, the bottle itself, So yeah, she did that for me, which was, I mean, I have such an amazing team. It's sickening to me, but yeah, she does all of it. I'm gonna get it tattooed probably somewhere on me one of these days.
That would be really cool. Yeah. And even down to like the letters and how they kind of fade up, how they're doubled and they kind of disappear as they're going up. Yeah, it was well thought out.
It's like, I actually tried to draw it myself and she's like, do you want me to go take a stab at it? I was like, absolutely, please. And so when she drew it, it kind of like, when you look at it, it kind of like, you feel kind of drunk, like the way that it looks.
Right.
So I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect. So.
Very cool. Now you have more music on the way.
I do.
So what's up with that? As much as you want to talk about it.
So I have a few songs in the works right now. I've been in the studio working on a song called All You See, which is going to be a very different take for me. It's going to be kind of rocky, kind of R&B, super heavy production. So it's going to be very different than Staying Sober. But I'm really excited about this song. It's about how all girls in their 20s feel about dating. It's like the hook is my body all you see. So I'm really excited about this one. It portrays a really sick message, and I feel like it's going to be super relatable content for all of us. But yeah, I have All You See on the works. I just wrote a song called Dear Annie. It's actually a song to my ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend. So if you're watching this, hi, sorry. But and it's an amazing song. It's really sad, but it's a really kind of like hey, just like when you're with him, this is what he liked, or this is what his family was like, and like don't take him for granted because he'll make you really happy, kind of thing. It's a good song, but it's kind of sad. So that one's in the works. A song called Stupid Girl coming as well. Release dates are all TBD on these because quarantine. Because I'm in LA and we are still quarantined. But Stupid Girl's a song to myself. So it's basically like you tell yourself that they're all the same. All the guys that you're seeing are the same because they keep leaving. But in reality, your insecurities are the ones pushing them away. So that's what's coming to your ears. Singles, maybe an EP, not quite sure yet. It's all kind of in the open. We're just trying to get the songs finished and cut right now. But yeah, we got some stuff coming, guys. I promise. I know it's been like a year at this point, but they're on the way. I promise.
She's working. She's on it. COVID really did mess a lot of things up for us.
Yeah, these songs were supposed to be released in March.
So I had a question written down that I was going to ask you the first time we gave this a shot. And in my head, that's probably a weird question. I probably shouldn't ask it. Based on something you've said both times now, I'm going to go ahead and ask it.
Okay.
What is something that you feel like guys need to know about girls or women that we seem to just not know, or we just seem to not be very good at? Like, what's some advice you could give us that you're tired of seeing guys do or not do?
My mom always taught me the golden rule. The golden rule is to treat others the way you want to be treated, right? And I think for men, I think that there's a lot of feeling, but a lot of the time they don't know how to portray that because they don't want to seem this way or this way or this way, right? But if a girl's giving you the attention that you want, communication is just, if you're going to ghost somebody, just talk to them about it. You know what I mean? I'm really big on communication. So my main thing is treat others the way you want to be treated. So treat women the way you want to be treated. Like if you don't want to see her talking to a bunch of dudes or liking a bunch of dudes' pictures, then you should probably not do that to her. Or if you don't want to see her out with the girls wearing like talking to guys, and you probably shouldn't do that to her. Right. I always think about it in the realm of like, would my significant other be upset if I did this? If the answer in my mind is yes, then I'm not going to do that. Or I'll have a conversation with them about it first, see how they feel about it. So yeah, I think that's what I've never had anyone ask me before, but that would probably be what I would say.
I like it. No, I like that a lot. I think there's a lot to that. Like, for example, I've practiced that for a long time, but that used to get me in trouble because how I wanted to be treated was not how my girl wanted to be treated at all.
But that's why communication is important.
Right. And that's where the communication comes in, right? Because you got to understand, what that person wants. It's important.
Exactly. That's why communicate. That's why now that I'm like going to be 24 in a few months, which is weird. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I got to this age and I'm still here. But now that I'm at this age, I don't have time to be like, messed with essentially. So I always am at the very beginning, I'm open. I'm like, yo, this is what's up, talk about it at the beginning, I think you learn about a person over time, but communication is key. As cheesy as that sounds.
No, it is though. It absolutely is. And as good as our generation is at communication, when it's like love and romance communication as a whole, our generation seems to kind of suck at that.
Oh, yes, we've been, we're together, but we aren't dating. We've just been talking for like 3 years. You know what I mean? And you're just like, so it's like your boyfriend? They're like, no.
Like,
no.
That
we're just talking.
Don't call him that.
Like, what?
Okay, so how about let's flip the question. So what's some advice you would like to give the females out there?
Girl, here's what I'm gonna say. Girl, if he does something, I'm looking at myself right now. I'm talking to myself. If he is not giving you every single thing that you want in a male or a partner, if he or she, let's be open, he or she, anyone in between, does not give you exactly what you want and does not treat you exactly how you feel you should be treated, they ain't it. They are not it. And that is plain and simple. I think that we have so much time. I think that what's cool about this generation is there's no time gap anymore. You know what I mean? People like aren't expected to get married and have kids at a certain age, you have time. So like, if you're with somebody that's like not giving you what you want, then you're taking time away from somebody that could give you everything that you want.
And as hard as it is to accept, being with someone who's toxic is much more destructive and bad for you and causes hell in your life than just being single well.
Yep. I mean, listen, this past like 2020 itself, like I met a guy who is open communication with me, talks to me about like everything that he's feeling, and honestly like makes me feel the way that I should be treated. And I think that it's been a long time since that has happened. And so for girls too, like just go with the flow. I feel like women are so uptight sometimes with that stuff. And I only say that because I am. Just go with the flow. Just chill on it. You know what I mean? Just chill. If he wants to be with you, he will. If he wants to be with someone else, I promise you, he will.
He will.
Same thing with men. If she wants to be with you, that's why she's with you. She wants to be with someone else, trust me, she's going to be with someone else. So.
Well, and it's on the guy side of things, that's what I've always read the logic of is like, look, some guys are dumb. Like some of us, and some women are dumb too, though, but there are guys that are just super dumb. But there are a lot of guys who aren't dumb. And there are a lot of guys who, when somebody is being real about how much they want, what's going on.
Right.
And putting on some rose-colored glasses and pretending like this isn't that, you're just asking for trouble, right?
Ain't it?
Last thing I want to ask you. That was a good little chat about relationships we had there. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about the podcast is we don't always have to talk about like the music or
for sure.
And we can have like a legit conversation and learn from each other. That's always what I hope for it. So
for sure,
man, this thing is really warning me we're out of time. What's your ultimate goal? What do you want to like, whether that's with music, whether that's with life, maybe music's going to take you there. What do you want to accomplish most in your life?
This is going to sound really cliche. But I look at success on a really small scale. So like, hey, I woke up and made my bed this morning. That's a success to me. You know, like that's just the way I cleaned up my apartment today. I had a successful day. I don't look at success like, oh, I have a family and kids and like we have an amazing house and we're doing well with money. Like I don't find that to be, I'm not going to measure my success based on when that happens. Right. So for me, my end goal is to be happy with whatever I'm doing. As cliche as that sounds, like whether I
don't think that's cliche at all. I don't think that's often enough.
Yeah.
I don't think people's goal is to be happy. I think people's goal is success or a family or whatever. And it's like, that's all good. But when the motive or when the true motive is murky, that's not exactly what brings happiness.
Right. I mean, I think that's really important to me. It's just like finding what makes me happy and just running with that. That's why like music is one of the worst careers that you could have, to be honest with you, because it's so hard. But once I found that, that's what I love to do. And that's what brings me joy. Just going to take off with that, you know?
Right. Well, gabRi, again, thank you so much for doing this the second time. I thought it went well.
I did too.
I thought the energy was still there and it was good. So
all right,
y'all, it's gabRi with a capital R. Everything else is lowercase, GABRI. We'll leave her information and stuff in the description. Please go check her out, guys. She really is an amazing singer, an amazing artist. We really appreciate you, gabRi. Thank you much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, bye.
Your skin fell on mine, but I go back to the time that you were by my side. Then and now, and all the in between. It brings me back to you and me, and it reminds me that it's over. Better off staying sober. People drink to drown out the memory. It does to me. It's bring me back to the time you were by my side. Then and now, and all the in betweens. It brings me back to you and me, and it reminds me that it's over. Better off staying sober. Better off staying sober. And every time